All right, so we're going to have a different kind of practice today. Today's practice is going to be called the intensity of care. And today's practice, we're going to be exploring what it is like to care at different levels of, what can you say, almost like the radius of our care. I'm going to explore what it is like to expand the radius of our care. So, as we always do, take a moment to center yourself, sit comfortably, or lie down if that's what you want to do without falling asleep. And just first of all, just take a moment to be grateful for this present moment. And today we're going to take a journey from, in fact, I don't want to reveal it. Let it just unfold. It's going to be a really interesting journey. And you're going to see how your mind, your thoughts, and your emotions, how they respond to this journey. It's going to be quite interesting to notice. So let's take this journey now. I'm going to guide you through this. And at each level, notice what happens. Notice the subtle changes that happen. By the end of it, you will notice quite a shift, I'm pretty sure. So see how this goes. I want to begin by differentiating between care and concern. We sometimes use the word interchangeably, but there is a difference. My definition of concern is equal to attention plus fear. Concern is equal to attention plus fear. And care is equal to attention plus love. So there's a real difference when I say I'm really concerned about you and I really care for you. And I hope that definition differentiates that. However, what's interesting is for this process, it doesn't really matter which one you go for, because some of us actually, we tend to be concerned far more than care. That's what comes naturally to us. Concern actually comes more naturally to us. Being concerned about our loved ones is probably a more predominant state than really, being in a state of love for them all the time. So for this process, even though I'm going to use the word care, for some of you, you may want to use the word concern. And actually that's all right. Just notice what happens inside of you. Because as we go along in this process, you'll notice it doesn't make that much of a difference. We are exploring our mind states. We are exploring what happens within us. And one thing I've learned is anything you do consciously on this journey is not a problem. You're exploring, you're doing a mind experiment. Anything you do consciously is not a problem. So with that understanding, let us now begin this journey. Within this body are not just millions, not just billions, but trillions of cells. Each cell is like a tiny city, self-organizing city. Each cell is like an individual, actually. And that cell is really concerned about and cares for itself and its immediate environment. So take a moment to access the consciousness of a cell and its circle of care and concern, itself and its vicinity. And see if you can tune in. What is it like to tune in to the circle of care of a cell. And there are trillions of such cells. And for now, just come down to one individual cell. Could be anywhere. Could be in your cheek. Could be in your back. Doesn't really matter. One cell. Your skin, of course, is made up of thousands and thousands, millions, billions of cells. What is it like to care at the level of a cell? And let's move from there. What is it like to care at the level of tissue? Many cells coming together create tissues. Hundreds, thousands of cells working together. And tissue has its own consciousness. What is it like to care at the level of tissue? And some of these things I'm saying may sound unfamiliar. You don't know what that means. It's all right. Just go along with me. What is it like to care? What is the circle of care or concern of tissue? Lots of tissue working together creates an organ. What is it like to care at the level of an organ? Each organ has its own function, isn't it? So whether it's a liver or a heart or the stomach or the gallbladder, the kidneys, most people don't realize that the biggest organ is actually the skin. So what is the circle of care or concern for an organ, for example, the brain? In other words, what we've just done is we've explored our inner universe. Cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, the respiratory system, the circulatory system, the digestive system. And now we come to the individual. What is it like to care at the level of the individual? There's a story of a king who was meditating with his queen, his wife. And after meditation, the king said, I had a thought in meditation. And the queen said, well, actually, even I had a thought in meditation. So the king said, you tell me first. And the queen said, in today's meditation, I realized that I am dearest to me. I am dearest to me. It's actually quite brave for a queen to say something like that, because in those days, to hint that anyone could be dearer to the queen than the king himself, could he really offend the king? But luckily the king himself was wise and was a meditator. And the king was astonished and said, that's fascinating. I had exactly the same thought, that I am dearest to me. So they go to the Buddha to clarify and say, we had this thought, is it correct? And the Buddha smiled and said, yes, this is true. We may say we love this person or that person, care for this person or that person, but actually we are dearest to ourselves. We are dearest to ourselves. So Buddha said this is the beginning of wisdom. So notice at the level of the individual, we care, now we can use the word care, we can use the word concern, doesn't matter. Notice what word resonates for you. So I'm just going to mention a few things and just notice at each level. Physical health, concern or care about physical health. Each thing I'm saying, just notice what it evokes in you. Emotional health. There are people who are physically quite healthy, but they feel sad all the time. Or they feel, lonely all the time. Or they even feel content. Emotional health. Intellectual ability. There are those who are concerned about how well they can grasp things or learn things. Or that is their primary focus. Primary focus is expanding their learning. So they really care about is learning. So intellectual ability. At the level of the individual, we also have care or concern about spiritual connection. Concern about spiritual growth. Am I growing? And really caring for it. So at least these four things are there: the physical health, the emotional health, the intellectual ability, the spiritual connection. And in the world, at the level of the individual, then we care about our finances, we care about our social standing, care about our career or calling or occupation, the kind of work we do. And at some level, we do care about the kind of contribution we are creating, we are giving back, So at the level of an individual, and of course this is how I think of it, I want you to think of it as yourself. What do you tend to care about at the level of an individual? What are you concerned about? Within, without, inside, outside? One more time, at the level of an individual. When it comes to physical health, is there more care or more concern? Emotional health. Care or concern? We've defined care as attention plus love, and concern as attention plus fear. Intellectual ability, care or concern? Spiritual connection, spiritual growth, care or concern? At the level of finances, do we care for our finances? Are we concerned about our finances? Just notice. Today's practice is just about noticing. There's no conclusions here. There's no judgment here. Social standing. Care or concern? Career, calling, occupation. Chances are if things are going well, then you don't think about it too much, isn't it? It's only when things start feeling out of alignment, then either there's a sense of great concern or we really feel that we have to give it attention. We start caring about it. Contribution, at the level of contribution as an individual. And now let's expand further. This is where it gets really interesting. So from caring about ourselves as an individual to caring about our family, what is it like? To shift your consciousness from putting yourself first to putting family first. And notice the subtle shift inside. Expand your consciousness from caring for self to caring for family. There's definitely going to be a shift. Because suddenly we are taking into consideration the personalities, the wants, the values, the requirements, the benefits of everyone in our family. Expand further from family to the broader circle of relatives and friends. What is it like to care for relatives and friends? Really feel that care in your heart. Each time I mention something, I'd like you to really feel that circle of care expand. Let's expand beyond relatives and friends to the locality, the place we stay. We do tend to care about how green it is, about how clean it is, about what's happening in our locality. So your locality, what is it like to care for your locality? Some people take a lot more interest in their locality than others because they care for it. I know a lady who every day makes sure that all the dogs in the locality are fed, and if they're wounded, they're taken care of. This friend of mine every single day makes sure all these dogs are fed and taken care of. And of course, some people don't like her for that. They feel, why are you taking care of these dogs? So again, her circle of care extends beyond just her family and relatives and friends to include the locality. What is it like to care at the level of your community? And of course, there are different kinds of community. Community based on religious belief and alignment. Community based on occupation, livelihood. Community based on the part of the world you come from, your race, and any other kind of interest that binds people together creates a community. There's even a community of board gamers. So, what is it like to care at the level of your community? To really be concerned and to be caring at that level? What is that like? What is it like to care at the level of your village, your town, or your city? It's a different kind of consciousness, isn't it? For someone who's thinking that systemically, when every day their predominant thoughts are, what's going to happen to my city? What's going to happen to my city? What's going to happen to my town? Or if you happen to live in a village, that's fine. So, what we're doing is we're systematically expanding our circle of care. What is it like to care at the level of your state? Or your region? So, we're going beyond city to the region or the state or the province, whatever it's called where you live. Really feel that inner expansion. This is not just an intellectual exercise. We're actually exploring different dimensions of being, changing gears each time. What is it like to care at the level of your nation or your country? Feel it. And this is not just about being patriotic or jingoistic. It's genuinely caring. You genuinely care about what your nation, your country represents, its peculiar values, its history, its characteristics, its unique place in the world. Just like every organ has its place in the body, every country has its unique culture and history, its own story, and to really care for it. What is it like to care at the level of a continent? The inspiration for today's session comes from a conversation I had with a friend who's constantly thinking at the level of the continent. She's thinking, what can happen for Sri Lanka? What can happen for Korea? What can happen for Japan? This needs to be done here. This needs. And it's not just thinking in the air, because she's constantly thinking at that level. She's constantly meeting people, and she's able to make policy suggestions and contributions at that level. The level of your care determines the level of your influence. So I was amazed that her constant thoughts are at the level of a continent. She's thinking as big as that. Let's go beyond continents to land masses. Most of us tend to be far more concerned about the land masses and the oceans of our planet. What's going on? Because oceans are far more, but we don't really pay attention to that. So caring for the land masses, all the countries, all the continents, all the places on the planet that have land. Expand further. What is it like to care for Gaia, which is a beautiful name for Earth, the spirit of the Earth? What is it like to care for the entire planet? What is it like to have planetary consciousness? Can you feel the consciousness of the planet right now? What is it like to care at the level of neighboring planets? The ones that we believe might be habitable. What is it like to care at the level of our entire solar system? What is it like to expand the consciousness that much? It doesn't matter if this thought is unfamiliar, just expand the thought. Expand the heart. What if your predominant thoughts are about the solar system? What's happening in the solar system? And I think you know where this is going. What is it like to care at the level of a galaxy? What is the peculiar frequency of this galaxy? What is it like to care at the level of the universe? What is it like to care at the level of the multiverse, all the possible universes, all that is, all that is, and beyond that? What is it like to care for all that is known and beyond? So, from the innermost universe to the outermost universe, what is it like to expand our circle of care? To include everything and everyone? What happens? So, this is an experiment we did this morning of expanding our consciousness from the level of a cell to tissues, to organ systems, to the individual and many dimensions of the individual, family, relatives, locality, community, city, state, country, continent, land masses, planet, neighboring planets, solar system, the galaxy, the universe, the multiverse, and all that is. Perspective shifts each time, and things seem to fall into place. For example, yesterday I had some trouble with a flight I was rebooking, and believe it or not, the airline is going out of business, and so they couldn't give me dates for rebooking, and I'm almost about to lose all that money on that international flight. And I noticed if I focus at an individual level, it feels like a big loss and feels unfair. But the moment I expand my circle of care, I just smile and say, all right, it's one little tiny little thing happening. At a universal scale, I get a better sense of perspective. Not that it doesn't matter, everything matters. But one is not worried about it so much. So what's coming to me is, can we experiment with expanding our circle of care? And even if you're concerned, expand your circle of concern, then be concerned for more. Expand it all the way. And then act in your local universe. Work within your sphere of influence. Whatever needs to be done, let it be done. And of course, if you look deeply, then whatever needs to be done is being done. It's happening through you. In my understanding, if our consciousness truly is at the level of universal consciousness, then the sense of doership also disappears. Then the universe acts and takes care, just like the universe takes care of all the planets and galaxies. The universe takes care of every last detail of this life. The intelligence of life takes care of it. And what a relief it is to let go of doership and just trust. Ups and downs will happen, gain and loss, praise and blame, pleasure and pain, fame and obscurity, all the ups and downs of life. Each one of us is going to taste this. And our mind remains stable, sthitapragya, balanced wisdom, unshakable peace, unshakable inner quietude and stillness and silence. Nithya Shanti, abiding peace. So that was this morning's session. Lots of love. Be happy.